Tonight what we're talking about is obesogens, and I think it's probably unanimous. My husband can't say anything. Raise your hand if you've ever heard the term obesogens. Okay, it's unanimous. Nobody's heard of it before. The term was actually coined in 2006 by Dr. Bruce Bloomberg. Okay, he is a researcher who is studying the effect of toxins on the human body. And one of the things that he has discovered is these toxins actually cause people to gain weight. And he's trying to understand exactly the mechanism that this works by. And the thing that he has discovered is that these toxins are what is called endocrine disruptors. You know, we have an endocrine system in our body. It includes, you know, the pancreas, the ovaries, the testes, the adrenal glands. All these are endocrine glands. And what happens is that some of these toxins that we're going to talk about tonight actually interfere with the proper functioning of these glands so that everything kind of goes haywire. Okay? So obesity is no longer just about calories in, calories out. It's not just because somebody eats too much and lays around on the couch. Okay? That is a factor, but it's not the only factor anymore. Now, I want you to think about this. Is the world the same now as the world that you guys grew up in? It's very different, and it's very different in many ways. And one of the ways, you look up in the sky when you go out, and you can see in this picture here, what are those? Can you see those streaks?
Yes, the airplanes.
Yes, it's airplanes. It's called chemtrails. They're actually spraying chemicals, heavy metals, molds, and all these things that are very harmful to us. We actually, according to Dr. Bloomberg, he calls it an obesity pandemic. It's not an epidemic, it's a pandemic because it's everywhere. Everybody is struggling. If you look up here, you can see 39.6% of Americans are clinically obese. That is a huge percentage. Of that percentage, 50% of those are African American. Okay? Obesity costs $210 billion, and I believe it's more than this now, in healthcare issues just in the United States every year. Okay? But something that is remarkable is that it's not just human beings that are becoming obese, it's even animals, even wild animals. You're laughing, so you have recognized that. I see a lot of people now that their pets, you know, when their dogs walk, that their skin just rolls on them because they're so heavy. That's toxicity. It's not just because they feed their doggies too many treats. Okay, because it's even these wild animals that are becoming obese, and I think that's because of the toxins in the fields like GMO corn and the pesticides that are being sprayed on a lot of the crops these days is affecting these animals. Approximately, this is the one I was thinking of, I forgot I put this slide in there. Approximately 57% of the world's adult population is projected to be obese 2030. How many years is that from now? Not many. 11 years. It could well be in every one of our lifetime. 57% of the world's population obese. Well, why is this? Stress plays a huge part, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on in the talk. Lack of sleep, we're going to talk about that. I have a very interesting little fact about sleep that I want to share with you. It's because of these endocrine disrupting chemicals that are everywhere, and we'll talk about where you can find some of them. I brought a few things to display to show you. And these are called xenoestrogens, many of them, because they mimic estrogen in the body. You see a lot of, I call them girly boys, a lot of men that are very feminine these days. Young boys that are coming up, they're more feminine. And a lot of the females are having tons of female problems. Their menstrual cycles are just horrendous. They're having breast cancer more and more, ovarian issues, fibroids, all these things. It's because of these estrogens that are in our environment, and they're called xenoestrogens when they're in the environment. And also because of these obesogens, which are toxins that we'll talk about more specifically. This last point, obesity is a survival mechanism. We're going to talk about that more specifically when we talk about the adrenal glands in just a little bit. Where is all this stuff? We're breathing it, we're eating it, we're drinking it, we store our foods in it. We smear them on our skin, we put them on our hair, we put them on our face. They're everywhere, okay? And so the point that I want to drive home is we must live a lifestyle of detoxification in today's world. And that is what I want to introduce tonight by introducing these obesogens. Now, we're talking about weight loss, the last class, and that goes really hand in glove with what we're talking about tonight, because a lot of people really work hard, they watch their calories, they're exercising, they're doing everything right, but they still can't lose weight. Or they can't lose that last 15 or 20 pounds. And this is why. Because if you don't address the toxicity issue, and I'm going to explain why this happens, it's not going to happen that you're going to really be successful in losing weight. Our bodies cannot handle these toxins alone. We have to detox. Now, adipose tissue, which is fat, can hold up to 3 times the toxins that our blood can. And that's a good thing, actually, because our blood has to be maintained at a very stable balance. If it didn't, we would die. So when these toxins come into our internal environment, our body has to put them somewhere. And so it stores them in fat cells, okay? Now, then we're going to go out and we're going to exercise, and the fat cells release those toxins into the bloodstream. And then if we don't detox to get it out of the bloodstream, our body just reabsorbs those toxins again with the additional waste from metabolism that it's going to add. So it's like a vicious cycle that just keeps going around and around. And again, this is because of the environment that we live in, the industrial, pesticide-ridden environment that we live in today, and it's not something that we have a lot of control over for the most part. Just because somebody is lean does not mean that they're less toxic. It simply means that the toxins may be more concentrated in their body. My husband and I have had a hair tissue mineral analysis done recently to see how many heavy metals we have in our bodies. He used to do pest control. And when we first got married, I would sometimes ride with him on his jobs, and he would be standing in this cloud of pesticide doing his job. And I know his body's absorbing all that stuff. So when we did the hair analysis, I was pretty clean. I'm very proactive with detoxing. He was loaded with heavy metals. And a lot of that was from all the chemicals that he was exposed to all of his life. Plus, he didn't have the best diet and lifestyle for part of his life. So, okay, what is all this stuff? What are these toxins? Pharmaceuticals, anti-diabetic drugs. These anti-diabetic drugs, supposed to lower the blood sugar, actually induce obesity. So pharmaceuticals are a lot of it, and it's not just the anti-diabetic drugs, it's others too. Parabens, which are preservatives in personal care products. Shampoos and all, unless they're specifically made chemical-free, they have these parabens in them. They act as a preservative. Food preservatives, which act as an antibiotic in our gut, and I'll just mention this one right now. These crackers are pretty clean. They look pretty good, and they taste really good. They have rosemary extract in them. And in parentheses underneath that, it says for freshness. So don't let it fool you when you would look at this and say, oh, rosemary extract, that's good for me. It's actually not. They've become very smart. Marketers have become very smart at how they word things on labels. They hide toxins under nice names. So you really need to educate yourself as to what these things are, because if you eat a lot of these things, they really do, it keeps this from molding on the shelf. So when you eat these things in your body, it acts as an antibiotic in your gut. And if you know anything about antibiotics, you know that when you take them, they're not selective. They kill the good bugs and the bad bugs in your body. And we have bugs, bacteria in our gut that help us to digest our food. Well, when we eat these kind of foods that have these preservatives in them on a day in and day out basis, we're killing our good bugs in our gut. So a lot of people are not aware of this. Phthalates, that's like in plastics and vinyl flooring and stuff. Who has vinyl flooring in their house or ever has? Yeah, same here, yeah. There's toxins in that stuff. Bisphenols, BPA. Who has heard about BPA? Most people have heard about BPA. BPA was a big thing here a few years ago because mothers found out that it's a toxin, it's a xenoestrogen, it's bad stuff. It's found, and I'm going to just take the time now to show you, containers like this, plastic containers, water bottles, a lot of water bottles, unless it says BPA free, it's got BPA in it, toxic. When you take your receipt at the grocery store, the ink has BPA in it. The lining of this plate, toxic. The lining of my prunes, which I have eaten most of, and I just learned this recently, BPA. Okay? So they're everywhere. You don't even realize it. But these things are accumulating in our bodies, and the more we become industrialized and into all this fast stuff, think about a pizza box. I mean, how many people eat pizza? Most people. The pizza box is lined with toxins. Anything that's lined with the no stick, like my prunes don't stick to this on the inside because prunes are sticky, right? It's lined with BPA so that they won't stick to it. Cans like this, unless it says BPA free, it's got BPA on the lining of the can. That's to help keep it from corroding. Now, if you have an acidic food like pineapple slices, guess what the acid in that food? I see you nodding, you get it. It helps to pull that BPA right into the food. So when you eat these things, that's what you're also getting, toxins, okay? All right, triclosan, that's what you find in here. It's in like hand sanitizers and stuff like that. This is also toxic. Fungicides on fruits and vegetables, even organic fruits and vegetables, are sprayed with fungicides and other substances. But these fungicides act the same in our body as they do on the foods. Disinfectants, anti-fouling paint, solvents, shampoo, makeup, nail polish. Within 3 minutes of painting nail polish on your fingernails, the toxins in that nail polish are in your bloodstream. 3 minutes. The nail bed is very vascular and the nails are porous, okay? Perfumes, hairsprays, deodorants. A lot of deodorants have aluminum in them. And we'll talk about aluminum when we talk about heavy metals. Soaps, lotions, pesticides. 90% of pesticides are linked to obesity. Okay? Microwave popcorn bags. Who has never eaten microwave popcorn? You know, most of us have. The lining of that microwave bag is one of the most toxic foods you can eat, is microwave popcorn. Okay? Teflon or other non-stick oops, I didn't mean to do that. Can linings, fast food packaging, plasticware, paper plates, we talked about that. Water repellent clothing, flame retardant clothing. We're putting these things on our skin. You put this on your skin, you go out, you exercise, you sweat, your pores are open, guess what? You're absorbing that. One of the most toxic things you can do is take a shower in city water. Because you've got the steam, you're inhaling the toxins, whatever's in that water, and a lot of municipal water has arsenic in it. All right, so you're in the shower. You have a rubber shower curtain that when it heats up, it gives you toxins. And then you're taking a shower in municipal water that has arsenic in it, and who knows what else. Could have a lot of, ladies when they take their estrogen replacement and they use the bathroom, it goes out into the wastewater, and that's not always filtered out. So a lot of times this municipal water has traces of estrogens in them. So then you're still in the shower, your pores open up, and so you're absorbing more of this stuff. So it's really a good idea to have a whole house filter if you're on municipal water. Jet fuel, who would think about that? But you're looking at all these jets up in the sky flying around. That fume stuff has to go somewhere, and what goes up must come down, right? So the waste from all the jet fumes, besides what they're spraying out of them, okay? Of course, nicotine. Heavy metals such as arsenic, we just talked about arsenic, mercury, lead, aluminum. How many of you use this? If you use it, don't let it touch your food. If you use this, don't let it touch your
What is
food.
that?
Saran wrap,
Oh.
okay? Try to get plastics out of your life. They're very toxic. Use glass. Use parchment paper. Wax paper is better than these things. I still use them, but I try to put like a barrier between this and my food, because I'm telling you, it's accumulating faster now than it ever has before. Who has noticed a rise in Alzheimer's and dementia?
Yes.
Exponential rise. It's not just an accident. It's from our environment, okay? And unless we're very proactive, we're going to be victim to these things, okay? Monosodium glutamate. Did you raise your hand?
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Monosodium glutamate, that's a whole other beastie. And maybe sometime we can talk about it, but I'm going to show you some labels here in just a minute. Monosodium glutamate it's bad. It's a bad actor. It's not an obesogen, but it is a toxin. It's actually what's called an excitotoxin. If you eat foods, if you eat Chinese food, Doritos, I'm going to show you some labels that have foods that have monosodium glutamate. It's a flavor enhancer, and it causes your brain neurons to fire so rapidly that they die. I don't know about you, but I need all the brain neurons I can get, okay? I need all of them. Herbicides, drinking water, Prevacid, Nexium, that's the stomach things, high fructose corn syrup. All these things are toxins that we have to deal with. Today, Kaylin and I went to Walmart, and I wasn't about to buy all this stuff, but I took pictures of some labels, okay? This was fig Newtons. The first ingredient is figs. Now, if they would have stopped right there, it would have been good. But whenever you see an ingredient label that's a paragraph, run. Okay, it's pseudo food. It's not real food. All that stuff is toxins. Okay, this is Ritz crackers. Soy lecithin. That's probably GMO. It's got a lot of other natural flavors. Anytime you see natural flavor, run. You don't know where it's coming from. Because if you see natural flavor on something that's raspberry flavor, you know where that came from? A gland on the backside of a beaver. That's nasty. Okay, these are chocolate chips, chocolate chip cookies. Now this one really got me. There is nothing on that list that I would eat. This is Doritos. Okay, the first ingredient is corn, but I guarantee you it's GMO corn. Now maybe sometime we can talk about the dangers of GMOs. Everybody know what GMOs are? Genetically modified organisms. When you eat genetically modified foods, it genetically modifies your DNA. It changes who you are and how your body expresses different genes in your body. The stuff is scary. I mean, there's a lot more that it does besides that. It tears up your gut too. Okay, this one has monosodium glutamate, and then of course you have the Monster drink. And there's, if you want to write down this website, peopleforethicalliving.com, they have a section on how to find a lot of these and how to read labels and what the things mean. Because a lot of the things that you think are okay, like the rosemary extract, you would think that'd be all right. This one has natural flavors in it, or natural flavors and mixed tocopherols. The mixed tocopherols are vitamin E and actually are not supposed to be harmful, but in greater amounts they can begin to cause problems. Babies are born with 287 chemicals in their cord blood. I mean, they don't have a chance. 287 chemicals. There's a stem cell in embryos called the mesenchymal stem cells. I don't want to get too technical. But these stem cells are at a point where they determine, I'm going to be a bone, I'm going to be a fat cell, I'm going to be this. If babies are exposed to a chemical called tributyltin in utero, it predisposes these mesenchymal stem cells to become adipose cells. In other words, if babies are exposed to this particular toxin, they have a greater risk of becoming obese after they're born. just because of the exposure to this one chemical. Tributyltin is found in wood preservatives, vinyls, and house dust. Okay? So it's everywhere. It's used in food as an antibacterial agent. If you eat seafood, it bioaccumulates in seafood because it's found in anti-fouling paints that they use on the hulls of ships. So if seafood is around these big ships, especially, you know, in the bay and stuff like that, then they're going to bioaccumulate. 80% of smallmouth bass in the Potomac River are trans-sex. In other words, it's goofed up their endocrine, their sex glands, because of the toxins in the water that they're swimming in. 80% of them. That's a huge amount. And the Bible talks about unto the third and fourth generation exposure to these toxins. If I'm exposed to toxins and I have a baby, and my baby has a baby, her baby is prone to problems because of chemicals that I was exposed to. That's 3 generations removed. So this is no play toy. Okay, I'm going to skip some of that. Toxins increase the inflammation in your body, and inflammation, if you don't remember anything I say tonight but this one phrase that's in bold up here on this, inflammation is the foundation of all disease. Inflammation is the foundation of all disease. God designed our bodies to heal. And if you can find the source of that inflammation and remove it, your body, if it's not too far gone, will heal itself. These toxins drive inflammation. Okay? Inflammation also, this is interesting, increases the size of fat cells. Okay? We'll just cover a little bit of this. Food animals, most of y'all know food animals are injected with growth hormones, right, to make them grow rapidly. Well, when you eat that meat, it does the same thing in humans. It causes the rapid growth, and it can lead to obesity. Okay? Cancers are increasing. Gut disorders such as IBS and Crohn's and all these leaky gut, and everybody has an autoimmune disease these days. It's not an accident. A lot of it is because of the genetically modified, the pesticides, and the toxins that we're exposed to, whether we realize it or not, every day, and even all day. Okay, skin disorders. I rarely go to a group and interact with people, but somebody doesn't have psoriasis, eczema, some kind of skin disorder. The children are just riddled with acne. Okay? Adrenal issues are on the rise, and here's where we're going to talk about sleep just a little bit. If you're under stress, if you have chronic stress, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide, and you're not sleeping well. Everybody in here sleep well? Raise your hand if you just have wonderful sleep. Good for you. Terrific. But if you don't have good sleep, when you're asleep, there's different waves. You've heard about the sleep waves, the brain waves. There's a wave called the delta wave, and that's that deep dip in the sleep waves. In that deep dip is where 98% of your fat calories are burned. So if you're not sleeping well, guess what? You're not going to be able to burn those fat calories. Who knew, right? Who knew that sleep had something to do with it? Okay? Now, stress raises your cortisol level. Cortisol is the main stress hormone. Now, a little stress and a little cortisol it's actually an anti-inflammatory. But if your stress level is way up here on an ongoing basis, day in and day out, and that's your normal, is that stress like that? Well, your body goes haywire. Your body thinks that we are in a fight or flight situation. It's chronic. And so if I walk up and I see a snake, you know, my metabolism is going to increase. My pupils are going to dilate. My lungs are going to breathe faster. My heart rate is going to go up, and I'm going to be ready to run, and that's a good thing. But now if I'm under this chronic stress, my body thinks, I'm not going to have enough fuel to deal with this, so I'm going to lower my metabolic rate. When you lower your metabolic rate, that's when you set up, it's easy to gain weight and it's hard to lose weight, okay? And that's all because of stress. So can you see how this is kind of a vicious cycle? All these things are playing in together with the lifestyle that we have in today's world. We really need to be proactive. What about electromagnetic frequencies? Who's heard about the EMF, electromagnetic frequencies? Cell phones, Wi-Fi, computers, TVs, cordless telephones are really bad actors with the electromagnetic frequencies. Smart meters on your phone. These things are very harmful to your body, and they disrupt the sleep. And if you read this up here, D. Kun Lee, an environmental epidemiologist, has discovered that if a child is exposed to EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and which child isn't, it predisposes them to obesity after they're born. Now, how many of you have noticed that kids these days are more and more obese? It's a pandemic. It really is a pandemic. We'll talk a little bit about cooking oils. Cooking oils like corn oil, vegetable oils, canola oil. All these oils your body cannot eliminate, especially if you heat it and change the composition of it. When you eat these oils, it's like they cause your little cell wall that needs to be very supple and able to open up and become permeable to nutrition and permeable to let toxins out. Well, these cooking oils, when you eat these cooking oils in your diet, it causes that cell wall to become hardened and impermeable. So then your toxins can't get out, your nutrition can't get in, your cell becomes oxygen deprived, and it thinks, I'm the only one left. I got to replicate so that I can preserve life, and it becomes cancer. Okay? Can you see how we really need to be thinking about the stuff that we're putting in our body? Okay? Toxins also destroy the microbiome. Who's heard the word microbiome? Microbiome is kind of like the environment in your gut. Most people don't really like to talk about the gut too much. That's a private subject. But you know, if your doctor's not talking to you about what happens in the bathroom, then he's leaving out a big chunk. Okay? Because science has shown that I think it's 70% of your immune system is in your gut. And if your gut is messed up, and if you're eating GMO, genetically modified foods, pesticides, things with toxins like Roundup and these kinds of things on there, how do you think Roundup works? Who's heard of Roundup? Everybody's heard of Roundup, right? How does that kill pests? Do you know? You can answer. It causes their stomach to rupture. Have you noticed a lot of people now have gluten intolerance, celiac, gut problems? Everybody's hurting, gut problems, their bowels don't work right. It's because of the Roundup on the foods. 2 weeks before wheat is harvested. My husband's from North Dakota, he can vouch for this. 2 weeks before wheat is harvested, it's sprayed down with Roundup to kill it, and then it's harvested so that they can harvest it. It's all ripened at the same time. And then when they harvest that, it's got that fresh Roundup on it, and then they take it right to the mill and they grind it up, and then they make flour, and they make bread and pastries and all this stuff that we buy and eat. And that Roundup is still on there, and it's eating up our guts. It's making us have what's called leaky gut or intestinal permeability. This is causing a lot of problems. These are the toxins. Now, this was, and you can look up this if anybody's interested in looking up the actual study. Scientists took a fat mouse and a skinny mouse, and they put some of the gut flora, the bacteria from the guts of the skinny mouse and the fat mouse, and that from the fat mouse and the skinny mouse, and guess what happened? The skinny mouse got fat and the fat mouse got skinny. And do you know that they can do the same thing with humans? They can take bacteria from a fat person and put it in a skinny mouse, and the skinny mouse will become fat. The same thing. And so our guts are messed up by these toxins. These are things you really should educate yourself on if you haven't, because I'm telling you, you're going to have a problem with it in the future if you don't now, or somebody that you love is going to. Am I taking too long? How much time do I have left? I'm almost done.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm almost done. Okay, now let me talk about another beastie here. Parasites. Parasites are strongly linked to obesity, and let me explain why. Parasites can hold up to 7 times their body weight in heavy metals. It's been shown that parasites, if a person has parasites, they're more prone to be obese. Bodies have T cells, immune cells, okay? This is our ammunition, you know, our soldiers that go to the front line. You guys were in the military, okay? This is you guys out there on the front line. That's the T cells. They work well against bacteria and viruses, but they can't kill parasites. So there's this inflammatory process that takes place because of these T cells saying, we got a problem, we got a problem, we got a problem. It's these parasites. But they can't kill the parasite. And so the body remains in this state of inflammation. And what did I say about inflammation? It's a foundation of all disease, okay? And so that inflammation may surface as autoimmune disease. It may surface as migraines. It may surface as arthritis or knee pains. It can surface many different ways, but the problem is parasites. And this guy right here that works at Walter Reed said, we have a tremendous parasite problem right here in the United States. It's just not being identified. Plus, parasites excrete neurotoxins that cause your body to crave certain foods, the foods that they want, and most of the time, that's sugar. Now, sugar drives inflammation in the body. Not only that, regular beet sugar that is bought in the grocery store is genetically modified from sugar beets, okay? Parasites are the vermin that steal your food, drink your blood, and leave their excrement in your body to be reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. That's kind of gross, but it's real. So what do? What do we do about all this? And maybe sometime when I come, we can talk about how to detox. If you're interested, I'll be happy to talk about that. We need to be proactive. We need to be doing things to get these toxins out of our body, to get the parasites out of our body. Are there any questions? I hope I didn't just put the fire hose on you and spray with too much, but anyway, yes ma'am.
Well, it seems like, what are we gonna eat?
Yeah.
Everything is bad, and you have no control in everything.
Well,
So I didn't hear anything positive.
number one, try to eat organic as much as possible. Okay? Try to eat organic.
But at the same time, you mentioned that even organic.
Yes, you have to do the best you can do. If you can grow your own, grow your own. That's going to be the best thing. Because, you know, someone wrote many years ago that in the future, this was written like 150 years ago, and the lady who wrote it said, in the future, the problem of buying and selling will be very difficult. And I believe this is part of the reason. Because everything is toxic. But if you grow your own, if you have heirloom seeds and you can grow your own, at least most of it, do the best you can. That's why we ask grace when we pray, Lord, this is the best I can do. Please help me. And to live a lifestyle. My husband and I live a lifestyle of detox. We are daily doing something to detoxify our bodies because it's daily coming in. Okay? You are taking in heavy metals into your body every day. Every day. It's in your toothpaste. It's in your shampoo. It's coming down from the sky. It's on your food. It is everywhere. Don't be discouraged, though. Do the best you can. Shop in the produce section. The aisle that has this kind of stuff, it's going to have something in it. Okay? Now, if we're traveling or something, or if we're in a situation where I just don't have time to cook, I try to do the best I can. That's why this was in my cupboard. Okay? But even this is not ideal. Okay? Even this. organic granola. It's best to make your own. And so I don't mean to discourage anybody, but I do mean to impress you with the reality of the world that we live in. It is very toxic. And if you know people who have struggled to lose weight and they just have done everything and it just won't come off, it's probably because of toxicity. Okay, very good chance. So shop in the produce section, eat the rainbow, your colors, learn from Sister Alma how to cook. I buy grains that are organic, and again, I just have to do the best that I can. I buy in bulk, big bags, like 25-pound bags of rice or beans or whatever, and I store it in containers, and then I've always got it there. I have a friend who takes dry beans and cans them in quart canning jars, and then she's got her own canned beans. She doesn't have to buy canned beans, okay? And so there's a lot of things that you can do to be proactive, and I'll be happy, and I can maybe tag team and do some things that help you, with how to circumvent this as best you can. Any other questions?
Let's see.
Okay.